Everyone, welcome back to Teachers That Sparkle. So in this week's episode, which we are on episode number 1, yay! I always love a new adventure. In this week's episode, number 1, I want to talk to you about wrapping up summer break. I'm recording on July 10, and we all know what happens in July as a teacher. It is that time of year where your principal is already back to work, right? Typically, this would be my first day back to work if I were still working in public education. And your principal starts sending out all of this stuff very soon. Now, depending upon where you are, of course, you might be a month off. You may have just wrapped up your school year in June, and you may not be coming back until September. I know when I was in Des Moines, Iowa, we still, as a principal, started to come back in July and started to plan for that new year. You're going to be receiving your reach out from your principal very, very soon. And then that's when everything's going to get real, right? It tells you that summer break is almost over. Now, for me, I was always excited about that because at this point in time, my daughter and I, we had basically done everything we had planned to do for the summer, and she was ready to go back to school, and I was ready to start thinking about my classroom again. And I know that summer break is fantastic, but I did get to spend the day with her yesterday, and she even said, "Mom, I'm ready. I'm ready to go back. I'm looking forward to the new adventures ahead." So what does that mean for us as educators when we know we have a little bit of time still, but we also know that very short timeline from now, you're going to be very, very busy. So here's what I always did. I always looked at July as that time to make sure I had appointments done, that I had all of the things done around the house that I knew were going to be pretty significant, that would require my attention, that I had things done with my car so that, I didn't have to worry about that as the school year got going, at least until breaks, when they came upon. And I always made sure, because this was typically my time to come back from vacation, meaning away, a trip somewhere. It was always up to see family, but it was our week to come back. And so I would always make sure that I did those things like clean out my daughter's closet because she was going to be getting her new school clothes. And then I would plan for, when are we going to go do school shopping for her? When would I go do school shopping for me? When would I do school supply shopping? I started to budget for that. I started to think about my calendar, getting things back on a calendar, getting back into the swing of to-do lists and checklists, because I knew that that was going to be my life coming up very quickly. And I also have to say that in the month of July, we always started getting back into our routine. So maybe not necessarily the second week of July, but into the third and definitely the fourth week of July, the more we could practice with getting back to our eating habits that we had during the school year. If we got back to, if it was packing lunches or however we were going to handle that, getting up a little bit earlier, because you know how it is in the summer, we want to binge all night long, right? Or wake up a lot in the night and then we want to sleep in. Kind of getting back into the workout routine that you're going to have, because summertime for me, I loved it because I would become a morning workout person, but that wasn't always the case when school was in session. So it's thinking about those small details. Now, I remember a time long ago where I would always tell my staff, let's not sweat the small details. However, I believe that when you're making a plan, when you're starting to prepare for something, you need to definitely think about those small details. Now, as you can see, week number 1 really wasn't much about the actual teaching and learning category. However, I always do tell my staff this, and you can ask any one of them and they would confirm it. If we don't do self-care, we're going to be hurting ourselves in the end. If we're not good on our side, we'll never be good for our colleagues and most importantly, for our students and for our families, because we're going to be stressed and overwhelmed. I only share this because I've been there. I've experienced it all, and I had to learn these lessons the hard way. So take this month of July, think about all of those things that need to get done. Get yourself ahead, start preparing for what your days are going to look like again. I promise you, the more planning and preparation you can do on the front end, the much easier process you will have as you start to transition back to school. And that's going to reduce stress and overwhelm for sure. All right, that's my tip for today. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next week right here on Teachers That Sparkle.